Hello everybody and welcome back to the NLC 2023 summer season. My name is Wida, but of course, we had a great day yesterday, but I'm not here alone. I have two very familiar faces for the fans of our lovely league here by my side today. I'm going to be joined by Hibrain as well as Aragon. How are we doing, guys?
Doing good, doing really good. Happy to be back. Excited to be casting some League of Legends. It's felt like a way too long off season. Sure, me and Aragon did get to go over to Berlin for EMEA, but it still feels like actually ages since we've been home, and just having to catch up on all the teams and stuff. I'm so excited to see how we do this season. I think there's some serious potential last season, and I'm excited to see what this season's got to bring. As our faces just got so much bigger on the screens.
Production.
Oh my word.
But yeah, no, you took the words right out of my mouth, right? I'm thinking the exact same thing. Some of these teams are really cool. And from what we saw yesterday, I think some of these teams have real potential.
Absolutely. I do agree. So let's take a look at our standings and talking about those teams with potential here. Obviously, the standings here are going to be pretty binary after the fact there's only been played one game by each team here. But some pretty interesting teams in the 0-1 bracket in... Well, Nord and Ruddy being there is pretty interesting. You got to admit, right? Those are two teams that we kind of expected to be in the 1-0 bracket maybe after yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. I think these are two teams who, had very high expectations coming out from the previous season. Ruddy, obviously, Jakey, very loud on social media, so always kind of brings a lot of fans over with him. Expectations are high. It's not a bad team. It's a different team from last season, but still a very good team. Nord, similar story as well. But for them to not kind of hit the mark, pretty rough start there across the board. It's interesting, though, because I look on the other side of the table and I'm like, who surprises me there? As actually finding
it has to be unique, right? That's someone I want to shout out as well. When I see Unique at the top there, yes, it's one game, but they surprised me so much in that one game. I think a lot of people in the predictions as well just completely dismissed them because you look at their roster and it's a lot of rookies. It's a lot of people who haven't played in Div 1 before. Names like Woljo, Rusty Sniper, who, I dismissed them as less than Div 1 caliber, but they played really well. And now I'm super excited to follow them. Maybe they can make some upsets,
Yeah, speaking of those upsets, let's take a look at the schedule for today. Right, we got to figure out which matches are there to discuss those upsets. And you can see right there, we're going to be starting off with Ruddy versus Verdant, going into Nord versus Nate. It's a bit of a banger there as well. Venel versus the Fourth Wall, also one hell of a game. And then we have the Unique Esports versus Domino Esports to close out the day here, guys. Right, that's kind of going to be our match of the day here. But again, we're not going to talk about Ruddy and Verdant as much right now. We're going to save that a little bit for later. So, Nord versus Natives, initial thoughts here, Hibrain. What are you expecting from this game?
Well, I feel if you're Nord, you need to come back because it wasn't a great start to yesterday. Obviously, it's only one game in, it's only one day in. So, for them, I feel like they're going to come into this all guns blazing. I'm not sure what side they're on. I didn't get a look at that, and I feel like that could play into their selections and everything going into this first game of the day for them. But you do not want to be going 0-2 on the first week of action at the summer season, especially with so many changes, losing teams, gaining Fourth Wall and stuff. You need to kind of get ahead, because if you start 0-2, you're then playing catch up for week 2, and if week 2's bad, then you're in a position where you've really got to try hard to catch up to the front runners. And for a team like Nord, the expectation is, they are going to at least be a top-end table team.
Yeah, so Aragon. Next match on the table is going to be Venel versus Fourth Wall. We saw a very strong showcasing of Venel yesterday, especially Liam Cole in that bot lane on the Aphelios, really kind of taking over the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you were talking to me before the show even started about how many good Aphelioses we have, right? I completely agree. You look at the Aphelioses that we saw yesterday, I think Gooby stands out, 2Axis stands out as well, and Liam Cole too. I'm really impressed with the caliber of AD carries we have, and I think they might be our strongest position. On the other hand, though, with Fourth Wall is a tricky one, right? We had a 1-game sample size, and I believe, anyway, that they had their mid laner as a substitute. So we haven't seen everything to do with Fourth Wall yet. We haven't seen the potential because it was in that mid lane position that was struggling. I believe Ericsson was struggling when I watched it. But now they're going to get their proper roster, and I really want to see them do some damage today.
Absolutely. And again, let's talk about the match of the day here. That is going to be the Unique versus Domino Esports matchup. And I will say these two teams really came out fighting yesterday. Some massive surprises coming through. Right? Great showcasing for Volge in the jungle. And on the other side, we got to see Clover 7's Tier 1 ERL debut come through in dominant fashion as well on the Ari.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight here the roster changes that Domino actually made since last split, and it's what they've done is they built around Shackle, right? Shackle was incredibly good last split. I believe last split I even had him in like my top 3 All Pro, which wasn't a meme, despite Domino coming like 7th or something. I've forgotten exactly the placement. 6th.
Thank you, man.
Like, I thought their jungler was incredible, right? He was absolutely incredible. And what they've done is decided to build around him, add in Spooder, like the prodigy rookie top laner who was doing extremely well. On top of that, adding in 2Axis, who I want to shout out right now. I remember for the tier list stream, I told Midcop, this guy has potential. Because he was the... I played against him, right? I played against him in UKLC, and he knocked my team out. He gave us our team the first loss when he was subbed in as like a band-aid fix for the AD carry role. I think he's fantastic.
That's some great... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of really fun things to watch here. I also think, Unique kind of beating expectations yesterday. Again, it's very hard to kind of draw to conclusions already because we literally had 1 day of action and one round of games. I think by the end of next week, we should have a better place where we can go, okay, this team is over or underperforming at this point in the tournament. But I do feel like Unique, they have a bit of wind in their sails, and for them, it's now a matter of kind of keeping that momentum going into week 2. I mean, Domino, they did end 6th last season, but if you can get a 2-0 win coming out of this week 1, it's such a major confidence boost going in, and it's also a massive statement for the side of Unique, who I think people will not underestimating. I think that's probably the wrong word. But a team who definitely, I think the spotlight isn't on them at the moment.
They couldn't be assessed during the tier list stream, right? I think that's the big thing here as well. Speaking of assessing teams, we have our predictions. Well, we didn't have the greatest of days yesterday, me in particular, Headbrain as well. 1 out of 4. Meanwhile, Aragon also under 1 out of 4, right? But here are our predictions for today. And Headbrain, Ruddy's going to win game 1 apparently.
Yeah, I've just gone full unhinged here. That's my game plan. I'm just going to go against the flow and see if I can eke ahead that way. I have some faith in Ruddy. I'll always have faith in Ruddy. The Unique one, I genuinely do think this could be a unique day. Maybe even a unique week. Fourth Will are another team who I've found really interesting. I think with Chimera in the support role, means you kind of have someone who's very experienced in the mid lane, helping your mid laner also kind of get their head around the lane, and mid jungle support mid can always be quite a powerful pair who rotate around the map. So I feel like they're a team who've really kind of captured me, and I'm excited to see what they're made of.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for natives. I don't know why I voted natives yesterday, no shade to them, but usually Den Boxney teams, they're slow to start. Okay, for multiple splits now, what happens with Den Boxney teams is they are slow to start, and then by playoffs, further in playoffs, they become insane at team fighting. I don't know if it's the Den Boxney effect, maybe he teaches his team how to team fight, but they always start slow, and I don't know why I didn't factor that in, and I should have voted against them yesterday, but it's all good.
It is what it is here. As I mentioned, guys, we are getting closer to game start here. Ruddy at Verdant was a match we didn't really talk too much about, so I'm going to let you guys get right into breaking down this game by yourself, and then we're going to have a champ select ready very shortly. So go ahead, Headbrain and Aragon, take it away.
Thank you very much. I think it's probably best to start with that champ select and talk a little bit, Aragon, about what our expectations are for this game number 1. I believe Ruddy are on blue side, Verdant on red. What are we looking for coming into this champ select? We obviously talked a lot about the Aphelios, and you pre-game and before the show started talked to me a little bit about how Milio is just super high prio as well at the moment for the support role. So other than that, what are we kind of looking at coming into this champ select?
So we definitely have a clash of styles as well. You have Verdant playing full scaling front to back team fighting with 2 tanks, a mid laner, control mage, and a hyper carry bot side, which is fine. That's great. That's been the meta for a while now. It probably will still stay the meta. It was how it was in MSI, and LPL, and LCK, and everything that's been played since. On the other hand, though, for Ruddy, you have more yesterday, and, this might change because it's been one game, but what they played yesterday was a full single target burst composition that's predicated on killing the first target you see with Lissandra, Viego, Lucian, Nami. And if this doesn't work, which is how they lost yesterday, then the team comp falls apart. So I expect a slower game from Verdant. It kind of always is the way with Verdant, and I guess Tax is the only common factor from last split, but also a more meta draft from Verdant. And for Ruddy, maybe more of that mid-jungle synergy.
Maybe. Well, we'll find out as we are getting into Champ Select. The Yuumi has been banned away here from the side of Verdant. Moving over to Ruddy to see what they're going to be looking to put their attention on, as their ban for the first round is just going to be the Zeri. Oh, can we be done with Zeri? No, not yet. Well, I mean, we are in a way, but it's been too long, bro. It's been too long. The fact she still shows up at all is tragic to me.
So, Zeri, Milio, Maokai, typical red side bans. If you're watching LPL, that's what's happening right now. These champions are too good and really, really strong potential B1 picks. And then you have a bunch of tier 1 picks, right? I can see Nico's out because it just simply has no counters. I think the best answer is potentially something like Aurelia. But yesterday we saw Nico go through and attempt to be answered by a Victor, which confused me a little because I don't even think that's that great. And then the Victor got solo killed. So draft resources, rather just ban it. Yumi's gone to deny those kind of synergies like Lucian, Yuumi, Lucian, Milio all out. So what I'm looking at here, what's left open is something like Vi, Cassante, and I think those are the key ones right now. Oh, and Maokai.
Alrighty, well, there's going to be the Gragas as the final ban here from the side of Ruddy. Moving over to that first rotation of pickups here. Verdant blind picking the Maokai, like you were saying, hasn't been banned on the red side, so it's just insta-pickable here for Verdant. Question is do they have an answer for this? Have they got something in mind on what they're going to be looking to play? They do obviously get the 2 picks here. Could just look towards something, could be a strong bottom, or look for, at least a good start for that bot lane, and then get himself a good jungler, or probably, I don't think you go mid here, but I think you go like AD carry and jungle, or Lucian and jungle.
Lucian plus jungler could be a thing that you do because Nami won't get taken away, right? Toaster actually played Lucian yesterday from memory. But it does look like they're going to go to the Aphelios. You can imagine that they're going to pair off this Aphelios with something like the Lulu. But Sejuani would also be very good because how this matchup works is Maokai hates being engaged on, and often with the Sejuani, you could just pick him off and kill him because you have long-range non-committal engage, right? Maokai absolutely despises that. So it does look like we're going to get a melee-enabled composition topside for the side of Ruddy, where you pick like melee carries, stuff like Sylas, stuff like Jax, alongside that Sejuani topside.
Yeah, just running my mind through potential supports here. As Verdant lock in that Jinx, they could look towards something like a Thresh, because Thresh is very safe to take with the likes of the Aphelios now at this point, because the Lulu's been denied, the Yuumi's not there. I feel like Thresh is actually a safe pick here, because it gives you that Lantern, means that Toaster on a less mobile AD carry could be subject to getting caught by the... less subject to getting caught by like the Maokai and stuff like that. Obviously, the downside is you don't have an enchanter kind of buffing you up and supporting you that way. Instead, they've just gone full balls to the wall here, and they're looking in the Pyke as their support here. Unless that's like mid lane Pyke, which got nerfed into the ground a couple years ago, so I very much doubt that's going to be the case.
No,
that's an
really
aggressive
cool
bot lane. I like it because it goes through the shields, right?
No, absolutely, yeah, and it's not even just that, it's also good into enchanters, and they want to make plays on the map. It's also a melee. I didn't expect it, though. I did think they were going to go for the Rakan, really good combo with the Sedge, also procs the passive, because he's considered with melee and is decent into the bot lane as well. Does look like they're going to ban out some anti-melee champions. Cassiopeia destroys all champions that want to engage and do long trades, like melee champions, stuff like Sylas, so that's immediately what I'm seeing right now as priority for Ruddy. There's the Sylas ban. Typically, Sylas is very good here, because Sylas becomes essentially a better Maokai when you steal his ultimate. Other melee champions you could potentially consider banning are the Jax for the side of Verdant, to deny that away. He did fall down in Prio a little bit. Last pick I want to highlight here before I give it over to you is Cassante still open, and Cassante is alongside Sion, they're kind of the premier top lane tanks, which is what you need. You need a tank alongside Maokai for that hyper carry composition with the Lulu Jinx, because you kind of want 2 frontliners there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious what this final ban is going to be here from the side of Verdant. But I feel like you're saying Sion Casante, two pretty solid walls. Either is pickable. The question is are Ruddy going to look to try and counter it mid or top? That's the real question for me right now, because I feel like they're probably just going to try and blind pick top here, right? And then make sure that the mid is kind of unlocked as possible. Or you could just go like a Syndra and just go like a basic wave clear mage and then look to play for top.
Yeah. So the thing is, what's happening right now globally in drafts is top lane is being left less resources in draft because you just enable other roles and top lane's less relevant, right? A lot of the picks are blind pickable. Gwen, I'm surprised went through because you want a top lane tank pick for Verdant, and Gwen is the global answer to these tanks. You have your like trio of Gragas, Sion Casante, and Sion Casante get destroyed by Gwen, as well as Gwen being a really good team fighting champion and being a melee to synergize with Sidoni. So I think this is potentially an oversight here. Do value taking away Shihan's Darius. Shihan plays Darius, by the way, and it's his like most played champion and profile on Twitter, picture on Twitter. So does look like they're going to take that away. Tristana picked up for the side of Verdant. AD mid jungle, AD mid top laners are what you're going to look for. You want mixed damage in that mid lane and jungle role with between the Maokai and the Tristana, and this is a very standard pairing. Jace would also be an option here.
Yeah, Jace actually could be a potential. Or they just go full committal team fight. That's a lot of yordles for the side of Verdant as they're locking in a Kennen here on the top side. We'll talk a little bit about that top matchup in a moment. As we look towards the mid lane, Tristana's one of those lanes in mid where she kind of just handles any lane. She's got the safety from the rocket jump. She has the shove because of her E. And then she actually has really strong all-in at level 2 and 3. So looking for the Master
Is that locked?
Yi.
Is that a mistake? That's a mistake.
Okay, I need to find out if that's actually
Is this a support? Okay, we've got to wait. We can't speculate. We have to wait and see. It's Master Yi jungle.
Sejuani mid's actually so okay. Right. Here's a few things. Right. So Tristana's really annoying if you're playing like a mage or a fighter or kind of anything mid lane, because she just harasses the hell out of you and then just all-ins you at level 2 or 3 with Hail of Blades and kills you. Now, Sejuani has no kill threat here, and also might be a little bit lacking in the old wave clear department. But you're not going to get killed at level 2 or 3 unless you make a severe mistake. That's like my one thing here is like it's quite hard for Tristana to kill the Sejuani at least. But that's a bold comp by Ruddy. That is a very, very bold comp by Ruddy.
The question is, have you overcooked?
Yes.
So the thing is, you have point and click CC and a Maokai route, but that's it, right? Yes, you have polymorph, but I think Alpha Strike can you can dodge it with, because it's a projectile, right? Polymorph's a projectile that you can dodge with Alpha Strike, so I think that's out the window. And Maokai route's the only one you have, which is probably the angle they saw. You know, easy comp to scale up in on the Master Yi. You can't be invaded that much by a Maokai of all things. I guess you have Prio mid lane, which might facilitate that, but is that the angle they're going for? On the other hand, I'm a little bit worried for Verdant's draft because you have a front-to-back team composition, but you only have Maokai as a tank. And historically, Maokai as sole frontline isn't the best, right? It just hasn't been the best. He often just gets popped, and then you've got no room for your carries to hit, which is why I wanted a second frontline. But instead, what you've had to do is you've had to take Kennen into Gwen because you can't take a tank into Gwen. And that's why I wanted the Gwen ban. Kennen is a good isolated matchup, but how the team fight function now is probably Kennen has to create space for the carries, and that's a bit awkward.
Yeah, no, it's a very bizarre team comp from the side of Ruddy. Maybe they've just got some like crazy science that we weren't ready for, and we've been caught off guard. I see a very resource intensive Master Yi who's going to want a lot of gold to kind of be relevant. They also have an Aphelios who's also very resource intensive and wants a lot of investment. So you're kind of putting all of your money into 2 baskets, and I worry that that's not going to be spread wide enough. Now, Sejuani, once she gets her Mythic, it's relatively chill because she'll have the survivability, and for NB Carry, you know, their job in this game is just to be that support for the team, and just be that frontline for the team. But I do worry that Toaster and Zapdo might be a little lacking in the gold department, and just might not be able to do enough damage to really take over this game.
So I wanted to highlight bot lane this game, right? Before the series started, I wanted to highlight bot lane. I wanted to highlight Gooby and Toaster because, first of all, Toaster carries me in solo queue like almost all the time. He doesn't realize this, but we queue into each other a lot, and he's very good. He's always popping off, and he's always 1v9ing. And Gooby yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely, maybe not outperforming a Denvox because it is a team game after all, but in some team fights, I remember a team fight around bot lane Bush where he gap closed using the Bush in the river, and managed to gap close onto a lethal tempo stack Jinx as a Aphelios into melee range, and it was really impressive. I want to see if they can keep up these performances, and if so, then we might see some fancy team fights. But the reason I don't want to highlight them at the same time is because it's now a double cull lane, you know? And what we're probably going to see is mid-jungle be the focus. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to highlight these. I can imagine mid-jungle, because Master Yi is enabled by Sejuani, and that's the idea here. Since Master Yi gets his double hit passive, he might insta-proc Sejuani passive with the melee stun. I can imagine that's an interaction that they're going to go for, and potentially catch Tristana off guard or the Maokai off guard, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that experienced with Master Yi. The only Master Yi I see is Cynarius in high elo, and he somehow gets rank 1 and nobody understands why. So that's that's pretty much it.
Master Yi is one of those champions who, you know, maybe not in competitive, but in like a solo queue setting, if they get the gold injected into them, it just feels like there's nothing you can do. But also, there's so many steps you can take to not just let the Master Yi take over the game, hence why you don't really see them in competitive. Whenever I see a Master Yi in a game of this, in a setting like this where it's 5-on-5, everyone's using their heads, they've got coaches, it's very much on both teams to kind of play that intelligently. So if you've got the Master Yi, you need to build a team that can kind of play to the Master Yi and play as kind of like an enabler. The question is do they really have that? Yeah, they got the Sejuani, so there is something there. The mid-jungle synergy is actually quite strong and would be something I would be a little nervous about. But then you expand that outwards. You got a Gwen who's kind of, you know, a bit of a selfish split pusher. Yeah, she can join into fights, and especially when you've got the ghost running, you can take over fights eventually. But like, again, Gwen kind of fills a similar role in like a Master Yi as well. Like, they'll run into the fight and just start tidying up. And it's the same with the Aphelios. Like, it feels like there's way too many of the same thing, and they've not got everything they need. Like, if you're building something, you can't build a house with just bricks. You need cement. You need support beams.
Your argument is that there are too many greedy champions in this game that need too many resources. Great. I completely agree. I think the Gwen, though, could be left on the island. And typically, I think the point in the Gwen pick here was to deny that front line, which I think was very clever, because you really don't want to play Sion or Cassante into it. Despite having, I believe, someone yesterday, I think it was either Shikari or Nili, did decently well in this matchup. I definitely think that was the point in the Gwen. I'm really excited. I want to see how this Master Yi plays out. No, genuinely, this is one of the most exciting drafts I've seen, and we definitely wouldn't see this in any other league. I think our league's pretty special like that. We just have Zapdo pulling it out, and if anyone in the jungle position is going to pull out the Master Yi, it's probably Zapdo. I think he went 9-1 yesterday. Unfortunately, they lost, but you know the guy's cracked.
I'm trying to cast my mind back to the last time I saw a Master Yi in competitive, and it might have been
mid lane.
The last time I saw one was it was Faker when he played it mid. He had that Olaf and Yi's
AP Alpha Strike.
Yeah. Like, I think that was the last time I saw a Master Yi in the mid lane, well, in the game, and that was mid as well. I genuinely can't recall the last time I saw a Master Yi in jungle in competitive. Like, off the top of my mind, that's a bit of a mystery to me. I think I've talked a lot about Ruddy's comp though, and you know my major concerns of it. That's a very scary team. If that snowballs, if all of those champions start to get plate golds and lots of kills, then the game's over. Like, you're never going to win versus like a Fed, Aphelios, Gwen, and Master Yi. Like it's impossible. But I feel like there's plenty of tools set up to kind of deny that. So let's talk a little bit more about what Verdant have put together here, because they've gone for a more traditional comp. I think their team is on the terms of kind of old school terms that we used to use. I'm weird saying that this is an old school term, but the ease of execution. There's definitely a very clear goal for this team and how it functions. You know, their team fight's very strong. They've got the disruption of the Kennen and the Maokai to buy space for the Jinx, who has a Lulu backing up as well. So even if somehow you get past all of that, you have to get through the wild growth, the polymorph, and everything like that. So what do you feel the game plan is here for Verdant? Like, what we know what they kind of want to be doing, but how do they get there?
Slow and steady. Surviving some cheese in the mid lane, I can imagine, with the Master Yi and Sejuani combination, and then getting to team fights around neutral objectives and playing incredibly meta, team fighting properly, maintaining formation and having a front line in front and just hitting. Nothing special. The most bog standard League of Legends you can get. That's what we saw all of MSI, right? The best team in the world, probably at team fighting, was JDG, and they would just play front to back compositions, and they were just the best at it. No matter what would happen, they'd have 369 in the front line alongside Kanavi. And that would never break. And they would just buy time until they would give Ruler enough space to actually go in with something like the Zeri, And that's what I want to see Verdant, what's the word I'm trying to pull out? Emulate. Right, I want to see them emulate this really well, because that's what I feel like they're inspired by. I really definitely think this team is an LPL watching team, because it's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to, like, if you're gonna try and be a good team, you might as well replicate the best and see what they do and kind of learn from them. I feel like a lot of teams do try to do something other than that, but like, this is how the LPL do it, but we need to make our own defining way of playing the game. But like, I mean, that's not always the way, unfortunately. I do like that it's LPL, but we all base our stuff off now, because
I mean,
LPL methods are way more fun than when we had like LCK. Everyone was trying to replicate LCK. The game was slow and boring. Do you remember like a 45-minute game was really normal?
Severe Gathering Storm. Any rememberers? That was brutal. I can't imagine casting that. I'm really glad I chose to become a caster now, and not
when it was fun,
not 7 years ago when Severe with Gathering Storm and hour-long games were normal. That sounds brutal.
I remember going to like old school broadcasts, like back when it was like UK Masters and ESL Premiership and everything like that. And it's like, we got 5 games. Okay, so it's an hour a game plus everything else. So we're like in the studio for like 5.5 to 6 hours easily. Actually, probably more. Yeah, they were long days. They were long old days. I mean, they were fun because you had a lot of time to kind of just chat. I used to cast with a guy called Tig, an Irish guy who unfortunately we haven't had around for a little while.
I played with him in solo queue. Yeah,
have you?
Great guy. Yeah, he plays
still
Riven.
high elo?
No, he was plat. I was on my spare.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like, Tig's got to be washed up by now.
Good
right?
guy though.
No, I love him. But back then, we just used to ramble, and that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the classic.
I think it's where you develop the pulling it out of your bum, like just a random conversation topic, and how slow the old game used to be. Do you remember like Avarice Blade Sivir back when it was the Greek guy? I can't remember his name now. Forgiven, thank you.
Forgiven, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Avarice Blade Sivir was like Forgiven's just go-to. And it was just like, okay, well, we're in for like a 50-minute game.
Before my time. We're actually going back before my time.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. I don't even think I watched Pro Play at that time. Or played.
How old were you back then? You must have been like really young, right?
16, potentially. Oh, we're back in game.
Oh, my
Let's
God.
go. Beautiful.
And here we are. Well, we had a lot of time to fill, and I hate to break it to you, but I do probably have a little bit more time to fill as well, because
it's going to be a slow one.
Before we went into the break, triple Cole on the side of Verdant. They are looking just to play this game nice and reserved in the early.
Mm-hmm. I want to watch Master Yi's pathing. I want to see and try to learn and understand what he wants to do. Is he going to do some 3-camp cheese stuff in the mid lane with that Sejuani? Potentially try to one-shot Nita, because Master Yi does a lot of damage. If you ever play against him, like sometimes he's pulled out as a cheese top lane pick and he just one-shots you level 2 with a double hit, right? So alongside that Sejuani passive, maybe when Sejuani is level 3, because she really does need level 3, we'll see something. If that is unlikely, maybe he's analyzing like the wave state, is it actually possible? Because realistically, Tristana has that buffer on the leap too. Maybe he just goes for the full clear, because he knows that Maokai can't really do anything. It's a Maokai, despite having priority in literally every single lane. Master Yi can get away with a full clear and not be invaded because of that Maokai pick.
Yeah, I feel like it's not, like a Warwick or something that's just going to invade and find a kill on him. He's probably pretty comfortable to play this. I think like his game plan is just PvE for a little while as well. Maybe if Nita overextends, but like it's like we were saying earlier, it's so hard to actually punish unless you alpha at the right time. Nita has rocket jump and the flash, so I don't feasibly see how you actually find a opportunity to find a gank in the mid. Bot lane, it's a Lulu and a Jinx, so again, like you said, you have to perfectly time that alpha strike to dodge the polymorph, or odds are you might struggle. it's going to really come down to, actually, Pui here, who's on the pike, and it's on them to kind of set up the roams around the map and maybe look and enable these plays for the team. As they get a nice amount of damage actually off onto Gooby. Have to put down the traps. As Pui able to dodge away there from that zap, and that's a lovely little trade. Actually gets almost another hook off. Is just able to break it away. Zapdo, there's no way, right? They're going to go for a dive. You can
see Taxa. Taxa's running down. He sees something coming.
Nope. He goes straight to his chicken camp.
I think they're dead here. Oh no, he recalls. I think they smelled it as well, you know. But that's really big, right? Because Gooby's now going to miss out on some minions here as it crashes, and Toaster's going to be able to just, you know, get a nice recall. They do have purple gun. They have purple gun. This could be a gank setup as well.
If the hook lands, he's dead. Wendell flashes. Lovely follow-up there from Zapdo. A surprising amount of damage from an early Master Yi. TP being used nice and early here from Nita, who tries to join into the fray. Taxa's coming in with a flank, and Ruddy have found themselves in a seriously dangerous position. Toaster flashes the wall, but he has nowhere to go. Hook comes in to save the day. Toaster gets flashed onto, interrupted by Envy Carry as Toaster's desperately trying to get away. The Little Ants now may just be the big threat to Envy Carry, and somehow a miracle breaks out for Verdant, and they only lose a single member in that invade.
Gooby actually biting the bullet and recalling there was crucial to come back with full HP. But specifically, I want to highlight Nita. If we get a replay of that play, even if we don't, that 3-man rocket jump to AoE slow everyone just secured so many flashes. And now, because Toaster has no flash, Pui still does, fortunately. That's throwing a wrench in their plans. They can't play through bot lane as much anymore. They really wanted to use that purple gun, since that is the next gun you get along the way. And that play just goes out the window. Zapdo just has to go back to full clearing, and really, really good counter gank by Nita.
Yeah, that was really, really well read by Verdant. You said earlier it looked like they had a good read on it, and you were right. They had an amazing read on it. They were able to rotate Taxa down at the perfect time. Great, just very forward-thinking teleport there by Nita. And I think the good news for Ruddy is that was only Zapdo. That felt like that could have been 2-3 members went down, and that would have spelt a serious problem for the team that either want to snowball this game or just get enough resources that they can take the game over.
Yeah. But this is why I highlighted. I want them to play through mid and play through Toaster. Is he gonna die? The lethal tempo stacked up. I think he's dead.
Yeah, he goes down. Total misplay. Envy Carry, he's looking to come down, but I don't really see how he's going to be able to find a gank here. So, yeah, Verdant going to take himself a free reset and move away. As Nilly did have to use the Slicing Maelstrom, I think, just to clear through the wave and stop Xinyuan from finding an opportunity to kill them. Gooby has been found here, and actually, they do have their jungler coming in, able to get the rockets off, and finds himself the excitement, and that is going to be it. What are Ruddy doing? It's just mistake after mistake.
It's an absolute disaster. It all starts off because Toaster doesn't have flash from that early play. We had to flash over the wall, and then he just dies. He somehow walks into them. And take a look at mid lane as well. Even after that play, he's falling down in CS2. This is why I want to play through mid. You have no priority mid, so you have to play through and force that priority. But now, another player is coming out to bot lane, and they just will not let up.
He actually got the shutdown? Are you kidding me? How did he pull that off?
What a madman. How does he do so much damage? I swear, Master Yi, he just absolutely one-hit him with that double hit at the end there. Somehow, 1 versus 3, they needed that. They absolutely needed that because everything was on fire around them.
I mean, the salty run back actually paid off, which is beyond bonkers to me there. Gets the shutdown, comes back with the Vamp Scepter. Did have a pickaxe, so he did have a fair amount of gold. And the main thing is his Toaster's also alleviated to get themselves basically a wave where they're not going to be getting poked and harassed by Gooby and Wendell. So they're able to kind of trim out the wave, not to sit underneath their tower taking pot shots and losing health, and able to shove it back out. And now Toaster can go for that reset and get a stage closer towards that Storm Razor. As Pete does need to avoid Wendell. Then are going to have the priority on the map and the pressure, so the tempo's in their favor. We'll translate that into the Mountain Dragon to start it off for them as Envy Carry. I mean, there's not really much they can do here versus Nita. I think they've pretty much accepted their fate. They've got the Doran Shield, and they're just playing damage absorbent right now.
It's absolutely brutal, right? Because he just cannot play this. You cannot play Sejuani into ranged and do anything. There is no counterplay unless you find some early cheese. And even here, yes, it does a little bit of damage, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
Zapdo. No way, he didn't press Q in time. Zapdo unable to find the kill. Taxa will not make it to find a kill. Oh, that is so unlucky for Zapdo, actually.
Yeah, Taxa with the ult over the wall from Fog of War is actually pretty hard to react to. I don't blame him necessarily, but still unfortunate. Maybe he didn't have Alpha Strike because he'd used it on chickens or something. Not too sure of the cooldown off the top of my head, but still very sad that they don't get the kill there because that is a rough CSC. This is what I mean. It's so good. The amount of damage you can do with this Sejuani passive insta-procking it.
He actually got away? No way, Zapdo! Man, honestly, I don't really care about Master Yi. I know a lot of people do, especially in solo queue, people get tilted by Master Yi. Toaster is actually just killing Gooby here. He has the double guns, so it is just kill territory. Wendell finds himself the kill onto Toaster, though.
What is happening? It's such a banger of a game. There's just... This is the NLC I missed. I missed this NLC for the past 3 months. It's just nonsense. Back and forth kills, non-stop. Doesn't matter who's ahead or who's behind because it doesn't dictate who will kill next. I can't wait to see it. I bet you, Verdant, are going to turn this around now, get kills in the mid lane and bot lane.
Honestly, I have to admit it to Zapdo. Really understanding the limits of Master Yi. Knowing the healing from the damage reduction from the meditation. Getting that Alpha Strike off to cancel that final tower shot as well, so he resets aggro and gets away. Genuinely impressive stuff coming in from Zapdo on the Master Yi. I didn't think I'd be saying that on my first cast back of summer, but incredibly well played by him. I think the major thing to note, though, is Verdant are doing a really good job of just reading the map and controlling the tempo of the map. They've got the first dragon. They've now just picked up the first Rift Herald. They've been able to answer a lot of the plays that Ruddy have tried to make on the bottom side of the map. And it does look like they're pinging to come down for a potential dive, but the wave's been trimmed out so quickly by Gooby that they're going to either have to wait for another wave to go for it, or they're just going to have to back off. And I think with the rotation of the rest of Verdant coming around, Ruddy realized it's going to have to go back to lane state and not going to be able to pull a dive off right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the reality of having mid-prio. Just your Sejuani is permanently pushed in unless you can play through it with a Master Yi in the mid lane off of the Sejuani ulti and the passives. You are just going to lose every single neutral objective despite having a potential roaming support. It's just not enough. Look at the Tristana's gold lead and the CS lead. I wish we could see the gold lead because it's pretty nuts. She also has 2 plates in the mid lane with the bomb plus demolish procs. And you just have a really sad MV carry on a tier, right? It is miserable.
Master Yi's got a Bork, though. Zapdo's actually already finished his Bork up. That's fairly impressive. Getting closer towards that Storm Razor there for Toaster, but like I said, Kraken Slayer finished up onto Gooby. He's also just about to finish that Cole, so another big injection of cash is coming in for him. And it looks like there's potential for a play here in the mid lane. That tower's already relatively low. It's a Tristana. With the help of a Rift Herald, they actually could crack that tower pretty easily.
Yeah. Just taking a look at the builds for Master Yi, because I imagine there are a lot of people like us who don't know exactly how Master Yi builds. And it does look like since the item rework, for the AD carry item reworks, it is a Bork into Guinsoo's angle. Although that might be too squishy for competitive. We'll have to see. Maybe it's something else that gives you a bit of bruiseriness. But that does look like what it could be. Zapdo, I think he's going to be okay here, because Nilly is just going to get run down.
Oh, Nilly able to just about get away with thanks to the health of the slicing Maelstrom. The rocket comes in and Gooby's able to find himself the dunk. Now they're trying to see if they can finish up Zapdo. He's down. Taxa finds the kill. Easy as you like. Verdant with the Rift Herald and a Tristana are going to be able to take so much on the map as P is looking to try and get himself a bit of damage onto Wendell. Lands the hook. Actually gets a whole bunch of damage off. Pulls the wild growth out. The Ignite's being used. Wendell is low HP. So Portal combat. But P, he's got backup. He's got friends. P going for a swim. Can he get away? Caught by the Glitter Lance. He's going to get caught. No, they've got him. He gets the dash away, but Wendell finds the kill. That's a 3-0 Lulu.
And you could just feel the desperation. It feels like Pui is really trying to do anything he can, using his dash forwards to try and solo kill Wendell through his ultimate, potentially heal, and all his shields. I just don't think you ever have the damage. I guess he's trying to utilize that Umbral Glaive Spike. Like, realistically, you've got to play with your team here. You need to wait, and despite how frustrating it is, combo your spells with the Sejuani and the Master Yi. Does fall there, and now I can imagine, because he's just respawned, that dragon is going to go over to Verdant.
Well, I mean, at least good news for Ruddy is they don't actually have a bot lane on the map right now, and they've all just come fresh off a reset.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of time if Ruddy want to play some vision down, but I feel like this is a dragon that they're not even going to bother contesting. It's only second dragon. It's an ocean drake. It's not a high value dragon. They'll take it if they can find themselves, you know, a kill or setup, but For now, I think it's just getting information is the real game for Ruddy, and seeing if an opportunity does present itself. Zapdo actually maybe seeing if he can find something down here on the bottom side of the map, as they're unable to find the damage or the hook, as Gooby trying to get the trade off on to be able to get away.
Yeah, so now what we have to see is a test of discipline from Verdant here. The only way Verdant realistically lose with this kind of lead against this kind of cheese composition is getting picked randomly. So as long as they don't do that, like this, they play together with the peel from the CC, the instant CC from the Maokai and the Lulu, if they stick together and Deathball, I don't think Ruddy have any counterplay.
No, I feel Ruddy have too many greedy champions.
TP advantage.
They are actually calling the TP, and they're going to see if they can make something happen. Shihan being pretty quiet on the Gwen is actually quite strong. They baited out the Twisted Advance, and they also baited out the Rocket. So I think Ruddy just felt comfortable to say the major ults are down. Yep. We can actually play contest here, and they're able to pull that off. And somehow still hold on to this mid tower. It should fall relatively soon, but every wave it stays up is just a little bit better for them. As Toaster, he's doubled. Gooby, it's too strong. He's just too strong now on the Jinx. That's a 5-2 Jinx. Kraken Slayer in hand. Got the Zeal. Toaster in some struggleville right now.
Yeah. And Gooby's absolutely having his way bot side now with these multiple kills. You know, it could be a bot lane 2v2 thing, but it is rough for Toaster here. He's so far behind. Ardent Sensor completed for Lulu as well, with those buffs to the base damage early game, on top of having Kraken Slayer completed too. There is such a significant lead. I wanted to highlight the teleport before from Nilly. He actually teleported back to lane, so actually did not have TP, and Shihan had TP advantage. So I was wondering if there was anywhere he could maybe have TP flank to force a fight with numbers advantage whilst Nilly was walking from topside, but I guess he didn't see one, settled for getting the dragon instead.
Question is what can Ruddy do? Because it's pretty obvious right now what the game plan is for Verdant. They've got the gold where they want it. They got a very fed Jinx. It's very much about them just not making that mistake. But can Ruddy force a mistake? Is there an option, an opportunity, or do you think this game's just kind of giga done?
I just look at the inventories. I look at the inventories. The first thing I look at is the inventories, and I just see bargain bucket items. Like look at Gwen's items, right? The same thing with bot lane AD carry position. It's all miserable compared to the other side. And I think what you've got to do is wait for a breakpoint that's at least similar to the enemy team, and not this gap right now. Maybe 2 items on the AD carry compared to 2.5 for the other AD carry, and then you take a fight. In the meantime, what you do is you control vision around your team. You give up all the neutral objectives because you have gotten one, which buys you enough time until third dragon, which is when you realistically need to fight, and look for picks in the meantime, because you do have a lot of pick potential with the Masti, and we've been alluding to it the entire time, the Sejuani combination alongside that Pike. I think that's the game plan for Ruddy. Otherwise, there's not much you could do. You can't fight a straight Deathball 5v5. It's not winnable.
No, I think you're completely right. I think it's Verdant already. We'd already kind of noted that these guys had what we thought was going to just be the stronger team for team fighting at least. Yeah. And they're now ahead. So it's even harder. The Tristana got demolished, got a Rift Herald. This tower is donezo. The question is are they going to be able to pick up more here? They're trying not to prop demolish on this tower. They don't even get the charge out. So they're going to save it for this one. They should almost get the Tristana E back fairly soon as well. And this tower's in serious danger. They get the Graviton on the 4, though. That might just be an opportunity, an opening for the catch on to Zapdo. He's going to not be able to jump in. The Rocket's coming in. Tax is trying to come forward as there's going to be the lockdown from Nilly. The Rocket to find the dunk from Gooby. This might just be game in absolute style. Shihan has to somehow pull off the multiple man fight. The double kill for Gooby. The opened inhibitor. And the tower's under fire, demolishes back, Rift Herald charging forwards. This has just gone so wrong, so fast for Ruddy here. They're going to be able to crack open the turret, taking it down. The Nexus comes in. Zapdo can't find his pentakill, can't find his opportunity. The dunks go wide, and that is going to be the end of the game in phenomenally fast fashion. 18 minutes on the clock, and Verdant slap Ruddy.
What an absolute stomp. How is that even possible? 18 minutes. Who are these Verdant players? It's absolutely mental. Props to Ruddy trying to innovate and defeat the meta by drafting stuff like the Pike, the Masti, and cheesing it with the Sejuani, but it just didn't work. And this is, I guess, why we see these compositions being played.
I think that you said after like the first 5 kills that occurred around 9 minutes, Aragon, this was a banger of a game, and I think that's
Yeah.
we had absolute chaos in the early game here, right? Hipbrain, like these bot lane fights just, I don't know, man, they just were impossible to follow.
I mean, don't pick 3 hyper-intensive champions for resources on the same team and then draft no real way to support them because you got a Pyke who's a pick champion. You've got a Sejuani who I guess is your closest thing to like a frontline and a pick there, but like in a losing lane, so not getting items, and then go for an early dive. And like the fact that a slight miracle happened where the salty run back into the bot lane paid off for Ruddy and they did get that shutdown onto the Jinx. But like it just felt like they lost so much. They had a fed Lulu as well as a fed Jinx. That game was just over.
I will say, it's not entirely on the bot lane, right? That TP not being cancelable, I'm really curious as how that TP was not cancelled. Maybe the mid laner for Ruddy was really scared of walking into a bush and cancelling it because he did TP from a bush, but because that TP was able to go through, that turned around the entire dive and ruined everything because Aphelios then had to pop flash, Toaster had to pop flash to safety, and he just kept chain dying afterwards because of the lack of flash. So really rough, but I really would like to see the POV from the mid laner, the mid lane Sejuani, to see why did you not cancel that TP? Was it too hard to face check?
I think this is just. I think they were moving down at the time. I think because they couldn't teleport to their tower, so I think they just decided to walk down and kind of see if there was an opportunity. I don't know, man. That was rough for Ruddy. That was real rough for Ruddy.
I mean, I think that can we classify this as an overcook, Aragon? You were asking the question going into the game, or like, do we need to go back and look at the recipe, or what? Like, what's the situation here?
I will say I think Sejuani was fine here in the jungle. I think Sejuani is good into Maokai, right? As a jungle pick, and you just complement that with some mid laner that you want to play. You know, any control mage would work, any melee champion would work. That would potentially, AP. I'm thinking stuff like Yone, but Yone isn't the best right now. But anything, I just don't think you needed to do this. Maybe it's something they've been cooking up for a while now, and in practice, it's worked. You know, I'm not the biggest Master Yi, most knowledgeable Master Yi player, so. Maybe in practice, in theory, but in practice, it just didn't work out.
No, and on the opposite side of that board, the guys were able to end this game in less than 20 minutes. We have Venel coming through here for the interview. And first of all, congratulations. Quick
Thank you.
the office. What are we saying?
I mean, I told my stream, like, give me 15 minutes, maybe 20, and then I'm going to be back, because when I look at this team, it's like, what can they do? They need to pick Master Yi or something like this, and they still have no chance, so.
For some reason,
Hello?
I cannot hear you. So, the...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. So first of all, let's try to rehash the point coming in. We have the time, right? You guys did have a pretty quick day at the office, so there's no need to stress. So how does it feel after coming out of that game?
I mean, like, I told the guys that, like, 15, 20 minutes is enough. Then I'm going to be back, and look what happened. They need to play Master Yi, they need to play some cheesy stuff to even have a chance, and they pulled out their best cheese strategy, and we finished them in less than 20 minutes. It's, like, easy.
You say that's their best cheese strategies, Quinn? That's okay. So they might have more. So first of all, again, like, what goes through your head when you look at a draft like that? Because, like, again, you expect the Sejuani to go into the jungle and gets flexed into the mid lane with Master Yi coming through. Like, how does that, like, make you guys feel going into the game? Like, because, again, you're drafting for something completely different than, as you say, they cheese you.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that when you face a better team, I think it's sometimes smart to do something different. And we know we are the better team. We know we are the best team in this league. So if we just do our things, like, no one will have a chance. Like, we bought 3 cool items, level 1. We know, just play the game like we normally do. Play slow, play like how we should. And, like, look what happened,
Yeah, and also another thing I want to highlight here, right, is that you were at 1.30 on Lulu, right? You were absolutely flying, just getting all of that goal while the rest of your teammates were picking up the calls. So, again, like, Lulu is a very fun champion to play into, like, a lot of things here, right? Like, how do you feel about having to play that match specifically against the Pyke? It's not something we see a lot of.
No, I mean, for sure, Pyke is a really good champ versus Lulu. It really is. It's hard to play Lulu. If you get hooked one time, you are instantly dead. But, the skill level is just too big, so it doesn't really matter what they play, to be honest.
Awesome, and let that be the closing note. Again, congratulations on a great victory here and a 2-0 start to the NLC, Venel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Well, quick day at the office for Venel. We still have some more things to talk through here, right? So, anything that really resonated from that interview with you, Aragon?
A lot of confidence. He's really confident, and you know what? Fair enough. The bot lane's really strong, right? We're seeing Gooby and Wendell really, pop off. I think this team is super complete. When I look at the top lane, we have like the MVP for top laners from last split in Nilly, and now the bot lane is cracked too. I can't hype up Gooby enough. I think he's really good, and alongside Wendell, of course.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add on it, to be honest. It's obviously hard because we talked about how we haven't had a massive sample size. I don't feel like we've really had that much more of a sample size added to Verdant. That was an 18-minute game. I think the main thing and the main takeaway from me for the side of Verdant is the fact that they just seem to have a really good read on the map. They seem to make calls very decisively and very quickly. There's no kind of like, there's no, oh no, I don't think we should do this play. Oh, I don't think we should do this play. It's I'm teleporting bot lane and we will win the fight. I'm doing this and we will get the dragon. And it was that intelligent play never gave an opening to Ruddy. And it's not just the aggressive plays, it's the defensive plays. Like when Ruddy teleported in their Gwen, yeah, that was just a I can't remember the first part of the healing item is called actually. Leeching Leer. She had just a Leeching Leer and like a blasting wand on the Gwen. But like they were like, we don't have Maokai ult, we don't have Jinx ult. Let's just play this safe and give the dragon and not give a bunch of kills over to like a Master Yi Felios and then potentially toying cost the game from there. So I just think it's really, they just got an incredibly intelligent read on the game state and know when and where to make their plays and calls.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the Gwen, we do have the pilot of that champion from the previous game here ready for another interview here. Hello, Shihan. Obviously not really the start to the day that you guys were hoping for here. Can you kind of take us through your expectations for this game in the draft phase?
Well, the expectations of this draft was like, we've got a strong mid-jungle combo. We basically can snowball through the Sejuani Yi, and basically we can wipe their whole team. They don't have much CC. Obviously, they drafted Kennen at the end, which is a pretty good pick. But the draft was, we've got a strong, dominant bot lane. They should hold their own. They won't just like die easily. And then we've got the power jungle mid, but my junglers are... not looking too hot today, but that was supposed to be the around draft, and then top lane is just a free scale lane of both AP picks, and hope somebody doesn't impact on the team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So also now, again, overall not the greatest start to the NLC for you guys as a team here, right? Can you kind of take us through the expectations for the season as a whole that you guys came into this week with, and what you're going to be able to work on going forward towards next week and beyond?
Well, basically, we are going to, easily win the next 16 games. But we said to ourselves, you know what, guys, ruddy up. Let's give our opponents the first 2 wins, because if we just absolutely stomp these first 2 games, everyone's just going to fear us. So we decided, you know what, let's just give ourselves these underdog statuses. We're going to look trash, but you know what, it's fine, because we're just going to win the next 16 games. So, we gave them the first 2 wins, and yeah, basically.
So you're doing a reverse CLG. You're losing the games to give the opponents faith instead of winning them to give the fans faith. I see how it works.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, and also I believe this is the first time for you stepping into an ERL Division 1 here. Like, how has change been for you on like a player level in terms of being matched against better players? One would assume. What has been the biggest difference for you coming into this season?
For me personally, the quality of players is like, I've always been playing with high quality players in solo queues, so that's not really much. But obviously compared to my past experiences, I wasn't in ERL 1 before, so it was less team oriented. It was a bit chaos. But this is the type of League of Legends that I really enjoy, and basically it's a great team. We've got a great roster. It's good gameplay and good opponents, so I think it's very enjoyable for me personally.
Thank you so much for your time here, Shihan. Again, unfortunately, you guys did not having the greatest weeks, but again, I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys are going to be able to bounce back in the next week. Anything else you want to add just before we do have to cut it?
Yeah, basically, Ruddy, amazing organization. We're out here, saving hairlines, so up the Ruddy up, and we're the best hairline organization out there so far. Yep.
Awesome, and let that be the closing note. We are going to be throwing it to a quick break. When we come back, we will have even more action coming through from the NLC 2023 summer season, so don't go anywhere.